here we are, Quakertown, Salvation Army. So, start the day. So this is a nice sweatshirt. It's a vintage one, but it's $11 for a sweatshirt at a thrift store. It's crazy. Of course, this one doesn't have a tag on it. I think these are like bootleg Dreamcast games, or Dreamcast controllers. $3.99. Quantum. Made by Interact. Never seen that. Well, that was probably the biggest letdown I've ever had in my life for thrift storing. I couldn't find one thing in there, and everything that was even decent was like 25 bucks, 20 bucks. It's not for me. Going to the Goodwill outlet store. A lot of people seem to like these Goodwill outlet stores in general. You pretty much pay per pound, depending on what kind of stuff you got. I think brick brack is like $1.19 a pound. Clothes is like $1.49 a pound. It's all like in huge totes, but the cool thing about it is that it's whatever didn't sell at Goodwill stores. Now, a lot of Goodwill stores do not reduce their price. They might put things on sale, in terms of like everything's 25% off, or all glassware is 50% off, but they don't reduce their price apparently. So if it didn't sell at the price that they have, it ends up at a Goodwill outlet store. The price could have been $200, the price could have been $400, the price could have been $12, $2, $1, and it just ends up at the store and it's priced per pound. And I found TI-83 calculators, I've found a lot of medical stuff, video games, vintage video games, so it's pretty crazy what you can find, but you really have to work and you really have to dig for the stuff, so we'll see if we can come across anything. shop. Today was a great day for a Goodwill outlet store. It was a very slow day all around with all the other thrift stores I went to, but definitely made up at the Goodwill outlet store. I think the outlet store is amazing. You pay per pound, and I got there at a time where I spent about an hour and a half maybe waiting around for them to put out new bins, because when they put out new bins, it's all fresh inventory. You don't know what's there, and pretty much everything I found was from fresh inventory stuff. So, who knows? If I wasn't there, I probably wouldn't have snagged it, but, a lot of people were there. A lot of people were, rushing over for stuff. So, first come, first serve. So let's check out what we got. I spent a total of like $24.70. So let's just say $25 for everything. I was at about 12 pounds of stuff, and at 12 pounds, it's like $1.59 or something like that. It came out to like $18 or $19 for everything I had. And if I purchased another 8 pounds of inventory, it would only cost me like another $5 or $6. So I figured, well, I could probably find 8 more pounds of stuff, filler stuff, that could easily make up for the whole trip and do whatnot. So I stuck around a little bit longer than I want to, but I got to the 20-pound mark and definitely picked up some cooler things, as the day went on. So probably spent about an hour and a half there. It wasn't a full day's worth of work, but if you have an opportunity to be at a Goodwill outlet store for a while, definitely check them out. Now let's check what I got. So I'm going to start with the clothes first. Here's the whole shebang. Let's start with the clothes. Here's a Nike Dry Fit Jets T-shirt. Football season's coming around, so I expect to get $12-15 for this. This was just a filler shirt, Notre Dame, 76ers shirt, Georgetown University. Most of these things, like this Georgetown, I'll probably get $10 or $12. These T-shirts, probably $10 a piece. Bloomsburg, another filler sweatshirt that, I didn't originally have this, but I needed 20 pounds, so probably get $12 for this, $10 for this. Here's a really nice one. This is the old school 90s Penguins T-shirt, Pittsburgh Penguins, their old school logo. This is just a cool all-around shirt. I love the 90s designs. Depending on how they'll do this this season, probably $15, $20 for the shirt. These old 90s designs definitely sell very well, and they're very sought after. Here's a Patagonia T-shirt. I love my Patagonia. As you see, Patagonia hat. But these sell extremely well. Patagonia is probably my best-selling brand out there. It is incredibly hard to find for me, but when I do, I always pick it up, and they sell quick. Hampton University. This is actually my first thing from Hampton University. I never had any apparel from them, so we'll see how well this goes. And a Westchester University filler sweatshirt. Moving on to the hats. Dolphin snapback hat. Goodyear Racing snapback hat with the string on it. The cord, I think it's called a cord. And I've actually had probably 4 or 5 of these exact same hat, and I sell them all the time for $10. So nice to replenish inventory. This is really cool. Atlanta 96 USA Olympics U.S. shooting team. This is really cool if you're someone who likes to do competitive shooting. You might want this hat and you like the vintage style. Starter snapback. Phillies are terrible, but whenever I can pick up a vintage starter hat, it's always nice. So probably get $10 for this. Not sure if this is actually an old piece or what. I don't know if it had an original barcode tag on that or what this is, but I saw it was copper. And when you're paying less than the price of copper for copper, it's always good to pick it up. So I'll probably take this to the flea market. If not, I'll scrap it. I needed like another 2 ounces for 20 pounds, so I picked up these things. Nothing really to them. I sell these for $1, so it kind of just helped me bump me into the next threshold. Here's a nice set of bunch of Lego pieces, probably a pound or so. I have a guy at the flea market who picks these up for me for about $5 a pound, which is a little bit cheaper than eBay, I believe, but cash is cash. So probably going to give this to him for $5. We'll see with that. I might have to look through it and see if I see any minifigs, because I'll keep those. This is a great movie, Bronx Tale, probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Robert De Niro, probably my favorite actor of all time, but I get about a buck a piece for these at the flea market. And I might keep this for a little while and watch it a couple times. So here's the better stuff of the day. This Chargers full-size helmet. I'm not sure if this is an authentic one or it's a replica. It's like the real deal though. It's not a toy. Very well be a game-used helmet. Full size. These helmets new sell for like $150, $250, sometimes $300. I'm expecting to get $100, maybe $150 for it. Anything under $50 would be a disappointment, but there's no way I can lose money on this piece. It's a great piece, that's for sure. 3 softball bats. I know I talked briefly about softball bats in the past. I was originally just going to get this one. I checked out quick on eBay, and they fetch around $100 for them used. So this model, about $100 used in this size, whatever size it was. And so I picked that up, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back. I remember seeing this bat, Catalyst, when I used to play baseball, so I remember that. I think they made a baseball series of this as well. And so I figured it was probably a little outdated or old, but apparently it wasn't. Ball bruises and whatnot. But I expect to get $50 for this bat, and I expect to get $50 for this bat. So in the grand total, low end maybe $150 for all 3, but realistically probably around $200 for all 3. So throwing the softball bats with the hats, the clothes, the Legos, whatever that thing is, and this football helmet, I think it was a very good day. I love these Goodwill outlet stores. I've had great success in the past there. I picked up a wrestling banner flag that I think I sold for like $75. I picked up sleeping masks. I picked up like a sleeping mask that cost like $125. And just crazy prices for a lot of stuff there. And like I said, Goodwill really does not lower their prices. They just do discount days, and if it doesn't sell at whatever price they listed at, they send it to the Goodwill outlet store. When I was there, the people next to me, one person had found a Coach bag, another person found Gucci shoes. Now if they were real or not, I don't know. Maybe they're Coach shoes. The Coach bag looked real though, but she only found one shoe. And that's kind of the thing with this place is, you really, to find shoes, you can find good shoes there, but it's very difficult to find a pair because they're never matched up. They're just thrown in the bin. So in that regard, you never know where you're going to come across. If you ever come across a Goodwill outlet store that sells it like this, I've been to ones that just do discounts, but if you ever come to one that sells it per pound, definitely check them out. They're awesome. They're fun to be around. Even for an hour, you spend an hour there, they're great. I checked out other YouTube videos. I've seen like Sega Dreamcast, all these old electronics, records. Sometimes they do handbags. Sometimes they do a thing of sportswear or of sports equipment. Definitely a lot of cool things. Every Goodwill outlet store seems to have different products. Check them out if you can. If you're stopping in for the first time and you enjoyed this video, definitely check out my other thrift store videos. Check out my other treasure hunting videos. There are a bunch out there. And as always, have a great day. Keep living the dream. Peace.